working with Bonnie Grace as part of a British Council biennial grant, and they have been working in Nangaru with the great support from Sally Stubbings, where they have been making some work together collaboratively, and you can see that work down in the ceramics gallery in the remade and assembled exhibition. There's 8 pieces of work down there as outcomes from that time spent in Nangaru, and that work will also be going on tour later in the summer to Renton, so having its kind of pan-Wales tour of South, Mid and North Wales. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end of the lecture to take questions, so if you can sit on your questions till then, unlike the other sessions of today, and we'll be able to take questions at the end. So over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Ingrid. It's an honour and a real pleasure to introduce our speaker today, the Turkish artist Elif Ağatekin. I'm particularly pleased because, as Ingrid says, I'm a trustee at the Nangaru China Works, which is just a few miles north of Cardiff. And Elif has just spent most of the past week there. Now, when you go to Nangaru, it looks like a charming 18th century farmhouse, but it's quite a deceptive place because this is the site of Nangaru China Works, where for over 100 years there was a porcelain factory briefly, and then a pottery making sort of everyday domestic wares. It's built next to the Glamorganshire Canal, so it was ideally placed to bring in raw materials like china clay and to export its products through the port of Cardiff. But it was here in 1813 that William Billingsley set up a porcelain factory where beautiful soft paste porcelain was made until 1820, sent to the luxury market in London to be decorated and sold. And then after that, for 3 more years, remaining stock was decorated locally for local sale. The problem with this porcelain was that it was uneconomic to produce, and so the China Works was forced to close in 1823. But a few years later, in 1833, William Henry Pardo reopened the site as a pottery, making domestic wares, plant pots, drainage pipes, but the main business of the pottery was making cheap, disposable clay tobacco pipes. That in turn became an uneconomic business in the early 20th century with the rise of cigarette smoking, and the business was forced to close in 1920. By 1991, the pottery buildings had become ruins, but the local council bought the site, and what was left was saved from destruction. The house was converted into a museum, and one of the bottle kilns there was reconstructed. So Nangaru is the only site in Wales where you can see historic bottle kilns. As a member of the Nangaru China Works Trust, I and my colleagues are now responsible for managing the site, and our main aims are to preserve Nangaru's heritage, protecting the crumbling structures that remain and bringing some of them, we hope, back into use as a community resource. We also aim to celebrate the history of the site as a museum of the porcelain and pottery that was made there. And our third key aim, I think, is to inspire and support contemporary creativity, ensuring that Nangaru and its heritage continues to be relevant. Now, contemporary creativity at Nangaru is ensured in large part by the fact that there are resident ceramic artists on the site. Currently, these are Freya James, Lupin Wright, and the sort of senior ceramic artist on site, Sally Stubbings, who I'm delighted to say is in the audience and whose work I would encourage you to go see in the exhibition downstairs, Remade. One of Sally's great achievements was to recreate the original Nangaru porcelain formula in 2017. And Sally has managed to master this really quite challenging material and makes her own ambitious work, partly to recreate some of the historical style of objects made a couple of hundred years ago, but also using it for contemporary work. We've realized that this porcelain body is interesting to contemporary artists. They are intrigued by it and want to experiment with it. And one particular success recently was the Cardiff-based artist Tony de Jesus, who made a piece called Amor Perfeito for a commission from Swansea's Glyn Vivian Art Gallery, using the Nangaru porcelain body and exploring the decorative and symbolic language of flowers. So alongside that, Nangaru runs an exhibition program on historic and contemporary themes, and we have a very busy program of craft workshops for glass and basketry, as well as ceramics, as well as collecting contemporary ceramics that form a dialogue with the site's history. Last year, for example, the Contemporary Art Society for Wales awarded its Hibbard Award to Nangaru China Works, and that enabled us to acquire work by 3 early career artists, all graduates of Cardiff School of Art and Design. Tony de Jesus, who I mentioned, Sophie Jo Edwards, who used waste materials from the site at Nangaru, and Naomi Palmer, who is also based in South Wales and uses local industrial waste. So, coming on to the theme of working with waste, that eventually brings me to Elif, who has spent time, as I said, at Nangaru this week, working with Sally and with Bonnie Grace. Is Bonnie in the audience as well? Experimenting with porcelain shards and broken clay pipes from the site. I think Elif may well talk about her personal story, but she's a graduate of Anadolu University. Have I said that right?
Yeah, Bilecik University.
And you're now a professor at Sheikh Edebali University in Bilecik.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was a founder member of the Ceramic Art Education Exchange Association and is a member of the Turkish Ceramics Association and of the International Academy of Ceramics based in Geneva. Elif's practice is based on using discarded materials such as waste ceramics, keepsakes, broken, worn out, forgotten objects, unloved objects maybe, and recycling and particularly upcycling these to express strongly felt personal and political meanings, which has made her a perfect fit for what Nangaru has to offer. So I'm really delighted to introduce Elif to you. Really looking forward to hearing what she has to say about upcycling materials in the context of contemporary ceramics, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the talk every bit as much as I will. So over to Elif. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. First of all, it's exciting for me to be here, and thank you again for the invitation. It was perfect, the days which I spent in Nangaru. I hope I won't bore you with the simple language I will use in this lecture. For many years, I've shaped my ceramics using waste, heirloom, and second-hand pieces that once served other purposes. First, I'll briefly talk about how I started using waste ceramics and how artists using things that aren't seen as valuable in art, and how broken pieces have been used in ceramic art history. And today, I try to explain what is this upcycling trend in contemporary ceramic art. But I need to, yes. Okay, I started using waste refractory kiln shells in my art in 2007 during my art profession studies. At the same year, I also had a young child who was 1.5 years old, and I wanted to take care of my son, so I quit my job at Vitra. Vitra was the best ceramic company in Turkey, and I knew well about making ceramic at that work. But what I really wanted to make was my own ceramic again. And I want to use ceramics to show all my emotions. I was in a difficult time after giving birth, and I need a surface to paint my feelings on. I mean, I was looking for a canvas of clay, and refractory kiln shells become the answer for the surface I was looking for. For every ceramic artist, kiln shells are very valuable because they're expensive, and we all use them very carefully. And I couldn't afford to buy this expensive material to use as a surface. I choose the quickest and the easiest way. For me, I asked the waste of them from Vitra, where I had worked for years. They didn't refuse me, and they shared their wastes to me because they're looking for a place to throw them. It's good for them also. And I used them in my professions here in art studies. The waste refractory kiln shells that arrived were broken, cracked, old, all deformed. Some of them had glaze stains. All of them had a thick layer of kaolin that was at least 20 years old. I cut these old refractory kiln shells using the watershed cutting at the marble workshop. On the surface of these old shells, I tried to pour out everything I felt after giving birth. I used them to transfer all my feelings, all my inner emotions. While doing this, writing and drawing become a very important element for me. I carved, I drew, and painted the surface that had layers from years of kaolin application. While doing this, I used a hand router and diamond tips with oxide, and without using too much color, I think because of this depression, I carved my feelings onto them. The wear and the tear of the material was very similar to mine. Because of this connection I felt with the material, I decided to title my art proficiency thesis, The Use of Waste Ceramics as an Alternative Means of Expression in Ceramic Art. First, I researched what is waste, then I used in art and historical ceramics, and how artists upcycling ceramics waste in contemporary art. Today, I will share you these details and show you my own ceramic samples, as you can see on the screen now. Okay, waste is all the stuff that comes out when things are made and used, and people don't need it anymore, and waste has lots of types. Since humans started living in a settled life, they start producing more and more waste. Over time, this has become a big problem that we need to fix. After the Industrial Revolution, the world started to change so much that it would never be the same. Leading up to World War I, a period of global tension prompted artists to explore alternative materials in their expressions. Basically, artists like Braque and Picasso were pioneers in trying out new materials and fresh ways of making art. They used everyday stuff and even waste to totally change how we understand art in 20th century. While artists pushed the borders of using all kinds of materials in their work, Marcel Duchamp took a normal object, turned it upside down, signed it, and sent it to an exhibition. That object was a factory-made ceramic urinal. With this move by Duchamp, all the rules of art were broken. It was the beginning of something that would radically change modern and postmodern art. This developing attitude continued with Pablo Picasso shaping bull's head using bicycle head bar and seat. Kurt Schwarz used trump tickets. Alberto Burri used old sack cold. Andy Warhol made his oxidation painting with urine, which is everyday waste from human body. And as you all know, Piero Manzoni's artist shit cans have been one of the most extreme examples of using worthless material in art. There are countless other examples, but let's look at how waste and worthless materials have been used throughout the history of ceramics. The first examples using waste ceramics in art can be seen as using pieces of ceramics, bricks, or pottery from workshop in mosaics to provide color range. Roman mosaic makers used broken terracotta pots to get red colors in their work. Before our throwaway culture and quick glues, broken pots were creatively repaired because they were valuable. In this way, the pots continued to function with the additions made to them. These ceramics and porcelains, known as make-do and mend, are now considered unique examples of necessity and thrift. Undoubtedly, the most elegant form of repairing using adhesives is kintsugi, also known as golden joinery, developed by Japanese masters in the late 15th century. Kintsugi is the art of repairing broken ceramics with lacquer and powdered gold. It not only restores function, but also embraces the history and imperfections of the piece. A type of ceramic mosaic called shard art was very popular during Victorian era. The mosaics are made with broken tiles, plates, pottery, porcelain, and use things called pico-aste. From 1900s until now, different artists all around the world have used pico-aste examples, especially in outdoor spaces. Catalan architect Antonio Gaudi's Park Güell is a unique public space using waste ceramics like broken tiles and dishes. This gives Barcelona's streets, buildings, and parks a special artistic look. In France, a man named Raymond Edouard Isidore loved collecting broken plates. He used them for many years to cover his house and everything inside. Now, 30,000 people visit his house, called La Maison Picassette, every year. India's rock garden in Chandigarh, a modern wonder, is very popular. A man named Nekchand built this huge garden in secretly for years, using all kinds of waste ceramics and turn it into one of the most visited places in India. In Philadelphia, USA, artist Aziz Zagar transformed the ruins of South Street into magical gardens with these mosaics. The Santa Teresa steps in Brazil are mosaic stairs made by the artist Jorge Saladon since 1983, using waste tiles from all over the world. These stairs, also called Escada Saladon, which quickly became a must-see place for tourists visiting Rio. Here's a very recent example in Foshan, China, known for porcelain. 100-meter waterfall made of 10,000 waste toilets to show waterways. From one flush, they would flow it, make it a real water flow. This waterfall was at the entrance of a big ceramic fair. I wanted to say that the world faces a fundamentally different problem in the 21st century. One of that is far greater, more global, and more critical, and all the conflicts, disagreements, wars, acts of terrorism, or even the migration to the West, or planet's clean resources are severely depleted. Due to industrial production processes, agricultural and forest lands have been damaged beyond repair. Making things without limit has caused pollution, and the trash we throw away everywhere is making us sick. Because of all this, the climate has started to change, and the wasting things has become one of the biggest problems in the modern world. Roughly 250 years of industrialization have brought us to a worrying global point. This situation has caused ethical issues and important economic changes in Western society. And these ideas have clearly matched with the artistic culture. For the last 20 years, Western society has really questioned how sensible it is to keep using more of our planet's limited resources. After all, the world is already full of too many things. This deep rethinking has not surprisingly had a big impact on ceramic art. Now, we know that we don't have endless natural resources. If we don't do something, they will disappear soon. So, one of the most important ideas we need to think about is sustainability. The idea first came out in 1987 in a report called Our Common Future. Basically, it means being careful with what we have so that future kids can also use it. It's about changing things and finding new ways to think to make the world better to live in. With the idea of sustainability, we started hearing about things like precycling, recycling, and upcycling. Lately, these ideas have become important in many areas, including ceramic art. Upcycling is basically taking something old and not worth much and turning it into something new, better, and more valuable. Today, I'm trying to explain how this is done in ceramic art. Unlike glass or metal, which can be melted down and reused completely, once clay is fired and becomes ceramic, it can never turn back into clay. Or let's say, not easily turn back into clay. That's why ceramic isn't a material that can be fully recycled in the normal way. So, for making ceramics more sustainable, upcycling has become a favorite way to go because it's good for how things work, doesn't cost too much, and can look really nice. That's why we are seeing it more and more in new ceramics art. Within this idea, artists see all kinds of ceramic pieces, like tiles, sinks, toilets, heat-resistant materials, refractories, bricks, figurines, plates, cups as their raw materials. They don't just ask how else they can use ceramic, but they also explore new ways to work with it and make it look interesting. In 2011, artist Heidi Bjørgan created an exhibition called Think Tech Trash in Norway. It was the final part of a big research project, which is exploring how artists could integrate everyday objects, waste, and found items into their ceramic art. As noted by the art historian Corinne Witterberg in the exhibition catalog's introduction, the idea to explore what found and purchased objects can contribute to art and upcycling has become a very important trend in modern ceramic art. At the same year, Corinne Witterberg wrote another article called From Trash to Treasure for the catalog of a big art and craft show in Denmark. In the text, Witterberg mentioned upcycling, which is considered as one of the limited number of approaches that can be seen as innovation in art that first started to show itself with the 2000 as a post-industrial trend. The innovation that Witterberg mentions doesn't mean breaking the bond with the past. On the contrary, the past is everywhere. In this trend, new methods can be added to the old ones. Flows can be priced. Objects can be collected, found, bought, filled up, arranged, broke down, disassembled, and put back together. Many artists mix found objects with things they made from clay themselves. This way, they can be blend ideas from fine arts with traditional ceramics and craft techniques. Today, many artists comfortably use ceramics as a tool for creating work, even without traditional clay, kilns, or glazes. Based on my research, artists employ six distinct methods for upcycling ceramic. Though this number could extremely expand, I think the first one is refiring. It means we fire ceramic piece again. A great example to approach this is the artist Marek Jejula and his series called Industrial. In the world of high-quality porcelain production, perfection is very important. Companies set very high standards. If a product does not meet these standards, is discarded as waste. For his industrial series, Marek Jejula used discarded tableware from Royal Copenhagen porcelain. These discarded porcelain pieces were refired in a special anagama kiln. It was like a protest against smooth perfection that factories wanted. Marek Jejula industrial project represents just one of his extensive series designed to subvert conventional artistic values. Around the same time, in Turkey, artist Berilan Nammert also explored new directions. In her 5205 exhibition in Istanbul, she combined factory discards with the traditional rock firing technique. Through this, Nammert questioned the complex relationship between sacredness and capital, a conflict deeply felt in Turkey today. To create the altars of sacred sacrifice places in the series, she used discarded zinc pedestals, toilet cisterns and their lids, and toilets from production. She colored them using raku. Beyond raku, or wood firing, some artists use an oxidation kiln. In this kiln, they combine different types of clay bodies with industrial pads. These artists know that different clays might not work well together during firing. They see all these differences and risks as an advantage. An early important example of this approach is the artist Gertrud Mohwart. She was one of the most important German ceramic artists. She lived in East Germany all her life. In the late 19th, Mohwart used a special method when making her ceramics. She used broken pieces of pots and plates. These were found objects made of different types of clay. She placed broken pieces on the chin and cheek of her busts. With these works, which had a very high aesthetic impact, she left profound effects of the perfection of contemporary ceramics. We can see a similar approach in Burçak Bingöl's Devis series. She created her works by combining industrial vessels with clay in the same kiln atmosphere. Through this, she highlighted the ideas of time, past, and history. Linda Sorwin believes that just a language forms itself over time. Ceramics also has its own words, items, and even street language. To express this language, Sorwin combines ready-made ceramics from different sources with clay. She then fires the materials again and again. In the same kiln, she fires them until they reach their own majority. Daniel Baer gets his inspiration from city dumps. Also, the works from Harry Pin, the Camel Virot are stringing in this approach. They create their art by building ceramic pieces, layers, firing them many times. Another group of artists transforms figurines and old tableware. They reinterrupt these objects using glaze on glaze decoration, essentially healing them into new creations. Sara Cihat is a great example. From Turkey, Ayşe Balyamaz, Winter 2011 series poetically tells her family story. She uses screen painting and decal techniques and old and new porcelain plates, placing photos and personal notes of family members onto multi-place arrangements. A string and second approach in this trend involves old ceramics shaped by mechanical tools. These ceramics, especially plates, whose surfaces and forms are manipulated with tools such as hand milling, water jetting, and sandblasting, reveal a shocking contrast between the hardness of the material intervention and the emotional weight of the old pieces. A very important example of this approach is Caroline Slot. She prefers to use second-hand ceramic plates as her art material. Her works have opened new doors in the experienced language of ceramics. Slot reshapes mass-produced ceramics using tools like diamond-tipped hand grinder, and her process is about questioning the material and highlighting the stories hidden in the objects. She turns it into her unique art form. Swedish ceramic artist Kjell Reilander's background as a builder and carpenter significantly influenced his art. Instead of traditional hand forming, Reilander uniquely cuts second-hand ceramics, pieces with a diamond tip show, breaking away from commercial clay working. C.J. O'Neill describes what she's trying to do with the second-hand ceramics as representation. In her work, Feeding Desire, she shapes plates using watershed cutter. She aims to weave to discover new meanings in these pieces. And in her collection, emphasis she places on society's never-ending desire for new objects. She comforts us with our unstable desires. Ceramic artist May Repson tells personal stories by transforming ordinary objects. She connects past and perfects present by combining old materials with new techniques. In her Homing Piegans artwork, inspired by her grandfather's World War II experiences, symbolized how ordinary things can become extraordinary. In my series called The Flower of Love, remaining on the palette, I used the plates of my grandmother's used to serve her meals for years. After my grandmother passed away, I wrote the names of the dishes that I knew I would never serve, that never be served same again, by cutting the item into place with an absorptive water jet. Then I placed all the pieces into place, into plates, instead of the taste I knew I would never experience again. In her second-hand plate studies, contemporary British designer Kane Ryan stays true to the form of updated second-hand and antique plates and vases, and reshaped them by sandblasting and deco decoration on their surface. Jessica Harrison uses mostly second-hand figurines that she buys from antiques, which were produced with the mission of teaching little girls how an ideal woman should be. She reconstructs these nostalgic figurines by interweaving with animal paint, glaze, and mechanical surface shaping tools. She gives new forms with the help of epoxy and considers manipulates the surface of glazed porcelain. In this way, she offers a new perspective on the female body against idealist romantic perfection. Paul Scott is known for his smartest political commentators through his ceramics, addressing environmental issues, historical events, and wars. On the screen, you see his work, Palestine, Gaza, 1840-2015. Palestine, with his legendary beauty as an image of exotic and sacred land, has long been the subject for the plays produced in the 18th. In Palazzo Gaza, 1840-2015, a part of series Postcard prepared a response to Israel occupation of Gaza in summer 2014. He used a plate with the image of Palestine produced by Adams Company for 30-40 years in 1800s, which is now considered an antique. He applies these historical images with the scans of current destruction on conflict, showing what Palestine looks like today. A crack on the antique plate, which grew after the second firing, was repaired by Scott using kintsugi, filling it with gold. This gold symbolizes how arms dealers profit from ongoing wars. A third common approach in this trend is consecutively praising brokenness and the beauty of loss. It's about accepting and showing the beauty in the worn-out old things. Iona Meros is known for works that prize the beauty of loss. Respecting ceramics fragility, Meros doesn't hide cracks and chips. Instead, she highlights each piece's imperfections with the spark of gold. By using discarded ceramics, Meros embraces their past restoring functionality to allow their stories to continue. Chilean artist Liva Martin gives a new life to non-functional ceramic pieces in her Broken Things series. She transformed broken mass-produced items into valuable, unique art objects. Ye Song-kyung uses kintsugi to bring together the pieces in her unusual and extraordinary sculptures, which she shapes using broken waste and trash ceramic pieces. Yi Shu-yong not only provides the opportunity to understand what is more valuable, various what is abundant, what is historical versus what is contemporary, what is art versus what is not art, but also makes the viewer question who the artist is. Undoubtedly, since Duchamp's urinal, which is one of the most striking examples of the use of industrial product as an art object, many works have used ready-made ceramic materials. Another tendency of this moment is that artists created forms simply by peeling up or arranging objects. In 2009, the Possibilities and Loses Translation in Clay exhibition in UK, created by Claire Tomovi, a joint project by MIMA and Craft Council, questioned the possibilities of ceramics by challenging traditional perceptions of clay. At the exhibition entrance, Claire Tomovi greeted visitors with a monument of her largest work, a 10-meter-long, 45 cubic meter pile of industrial ceramic waste. Tomovi created the ceramic mountain to comment on the changing nature of the ceramic industry on Stoke-on-Trent, a major UK production hub. The enormous size of the piece also symbolizes our never-ending needs and our passion of discarding, choosing, and buying new things. At the same exhibition, visitors also had a chance to visit Bronsworth's Salvage series. This work left them thinking about possibilities and losses within the British ceramic industry. He comes from a family that has worked in pottery industry in Stoke-on-Trent for generations. In all his installations, he used all the waste materials found on the floor of closed factories in Stoke-on-Trent and his raw material. He takes these waste materials, broken molds, agar pots, and fault goals. He creates ceramic arrangements without any intervention. In his works, he tries to question what quality is and how we decide what is valuable, what is not. In 2015, in Istanbul, ICF created an installation called Tiger, 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 an arrangement of 3,020 broken balls, each with a tiger motif collected over 20 years dating back to Ming Dynasty. On a simple white platform, these pieces transform into a visual sea of history, with each tiger representing the hand of a forgotten artist. Through his work, ICF encourages viewers to consider both individual objects and their place within a larger whole. Another shaping method related to this trend is assemblage. I don't know if I'm saying correct. It's actually the method I prefer to use most in my own art. Assemblage is a three-dimensional collage. And with this method, materials from different sources are given new forms, often with the help of new generation fast glues. One of the most important examples of this approach is Robert Harrison, author of the book Sustainable Ceramics. Robert Harrison is an artist who focuses on ceramic sculpture and large-scale assemblage works. Robert Copper has also used upcycling as a working style for many years. He especially collects pieces from different places, and even from his earlier works, he then recombines them to create new narratives with multiple meanings. Aygün Dinçer Kırca is an artist who aims to bear witness of the present day through assemblage she creates using objects inherited from generations such as table ceramics and figurines. Finally, another notable approach in ceramic upcycling is what I called blending with other practices. Here, artists combine ceramic with different materials and craft techniques. A string example is Renton's embroidered ceramics. In similar way, Zoe Hillard uses hand-stitching and patchwork techniques to give new life to broken ceramic pieces. She benefits from the aesthetic of fabric and the form of aesthetic in her work, ceramic in her work. She covers each broken piece with a fabric and joins them using stitching. The original surface she creates leaves behind the ordinariness, a mass production. It becomes a unique decorative object with a flawed beauty. Certainly, there are many more examples we could share, and you can see in the remade exhibition. In the light of these many examples, it's clear that in our current post-industrial era, with the world of overflowing with objects, artists are finding powerful new ways to create. They achieve this by using less firing, less water, fewer natural resources, and by transforming ready-made, industrial, inherited, old, second-hand, or even waste ceramic pieces. This approach proposes that ceramic can be upcycled into powerful art, significantly increasing the value of what was once considered low worth. It must be acknowledged that through this trend, 21st century ceramic artists, in their pursuit for new expressions, have created a rapidly evolving and distinctive new language. They have achieved this with unusual combinations and fresh approaches, bringing new dimensions of sound, color, tone, hardness, and softness to the material. This new language has dramatically expanded the visual vocabulary of ceramics in the last 20 years, extracted with the new interpretations, transform it into more creative, stronger, and fairer language by breaking the taboos regarding the shaping methods of ceramic materials, and contributed to the opening of the way of contemporary art to evolve into an important means of expression. Thank you for listening. Too long.
Thank you. It was fantastic. What an absolute tour de force there. I've got to say, a really powerful and I think kind of evocative treatise for working in that way. I'd like to just see if you've got any questions. I'm sure there's some questions out there. You've been a fantastic audience for questions today. Has anybody got anything pressing they'd like to ask? Yes. I'll just repeat the question so everybody can hear it. So the question was, of all of those incredible artists, which artist has kind of inspired you the most and why?
At the beginning, I was just trying things by myself. Then I started to write a PhD thesis about it. After I found this artist, so when I understand that they're thinking very differently, I understand what I'm doing. I can't say only one person, but I've learned too much from them, and I'd like to try my best in my way. So I can't give a name for this. But it was really fantastic for me to finding them, learning from them, try to do better. So no name for them. But all of them. Yeah, I choose them because I like them.
Yeah. No name, but a very
All of them.
specific approach. Yeah. Great. Any other questions we might have? Yeah, right up the back there. Yep. Can we look forward to a book on this?
Let's do it.
Julia's jumping. Can we look forward to a book on this?
Why not? I hope one day, if I can. I have articles about it, but not a book. I hope one day. And every day, for example, in this exhibition, I learn new artists. So it's getting bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger.
And I just say 6 way today, I tell you. Maybe another ways, I don't know. Sometimes I'm listening to you too much. That is it getting in somewhere in my looking? These are very important for me. So to be in the sustainability organization, it's very, very important for me.
Yeah, significant part indeed. Any other questions? Yes, Andrew.
Easy, please, Andrew.
I was wondering how directly your experience of working with industrial ceramic production influenced your...
Oh, great question. Okay, so the question is how Elif's industrial ceramic experience has influenced her work, and in what way, in this way, how much it might have.
When I'm working for industry, everything was very fast, and I was getting very... Am I understand? True? When I'm working in the factory, everything was very fast, and for me, starting to work with clay, again, it's something, no, I don't have that much time. I can't wait for the clay. So I need a surface, I need something, I'm thinking very industrially, understand? That's why I'm looking for an interesting surface that I can paint on. I want to cut them, I want to use other materials, because in this Vitra, the company where I worked, I was the CNC operator and computer designer. So for me, using this material is, yes, I would like to try everything in this way. I think it's enough.
Have we any other? Oh, we have one up the back.
With regards to the white plates, where it shows to be coloured plates, which have designs put on afterwards, do you think that there is a position for a small factory or whatever to take people's plates that they may have and hardly ever use, to then add various decorations to it?
Did everybody hear that question, or would you like me to repeat it? Yeah. Did you hear it?
I hear it. Is he asking about clear slots plates, or?
No, I think it's where people took white plates and redecorated them, and would there be a possibility of
why
turning
not?
that into...
Why not? We must find new ways and easy ways to... We must change our behavior about producing, about art, and we don't have to product that much at the end.
Yeah. I've got a couple of questions, if nobody minds.
Yeah.
If that's all right. One thing, you cited Joran Wittenberg at the beginning there as an amazing writer and theorist that she is. And I suppose it's a really interesting thing after a day of being on the demonstration stage and seeing all the material processes. And then when I look up and I see this fantastic selection of work you've chosen, and it really is you playing with the material culture of ceramics as your material, in a sense. Is that something that you see, in a way, kind of continuing in the kind of theories of new materialism, about the notion that these objects carry their own historicity with them, so that they're not banal, they're not what's the word I'm looking for? They're not transparent Is that really important to you? You know, when I suppose the grandmother's plates
Yes.
were really significant. They were the ones that really hit me. So that notion of historicity and material culture, do you see that as something expanding and really important in ceramic practice or not, I suppose, is the question.
Very
Is that
hard
question? Sorry, is that a very hard question?
Yeah, very hard question.
Notions of historicity in the material itself, the lived experience of your grandmother's plates.
Yeah, it gives too
That's-
much sense. And
Yeah.
what I'm doing with ceramic is talking.
Yeah,
This is something, a language only I know.
yeah,
I know all the letters of ceramics. What I'm doing is using these letters with ceramics.
yeah,
So, lots of my works are political. Nobody understands what I'm doing, but I'm telling my history, what I'm living in Turkey. I did everything with ceramic. Maybe later they will understand. With history, with feelings, what you are living, and try to express it with ceramic is what I'm doing.
yeah.
Is it a good
Yeah,
answer?
and I suppose the going back to those plates, for me, the poetry of that is that they were your grandmother's plates.
It was not easy to touch at the
Yeah,
beginning.
I bet that was
4 or 5 years later, for an invitation of an exhibition, I find a power to do this. Cut the names of the dishes on her plate. I know I will never have the same taste, and I did this. That's it.
And that's the thing, it's her plates,
Yeah.
I suppose, and that's the beauty of those objects carrying their own historicity
yeah.
forward. Yeah, and that's what's powerful in that work.
They have a meaning.
Yeah.
Very powerful meaning. They're not trash.
Yeah.
Because
And no other plates can do that.
yeah.
Good.
Okay.
I think we have just a couple of minutes. One last question, perhaps? Moira.
Can I ask you about how you bring your pieces together? 'Cause
With glues.
with glues, yes. Sometimes though you've used raku.
Yes. Yes.
What's the difference? I mean, what's the difference in your head about that, or why would you do that?
Using this. Pardon.
Once it's glued, you can't raku.
No. If you you can. I'm doing it. Okay. It's about. I'm using different ceramics from different sources, so I must behave different. I must talk with this material. If it wants to have raku, then I did it. Sometimes I'm only making drawings with raku. I like it. But most of times I'm making assemblage. You call assemblage? What do you say in English?
Sandwich, yeah.
Assemblage. The pieces which I'm using are thrown away for everyone. They're nothing. Most of the time I feel the same. What material is there throwing don't have any meaning. I feel the same. When I take it, make it into something different, change it, arrange it, make it look beautiful or something, that makes me better. Not only it, I am healing together.
And that's a beautiful point to end on, I think. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Elif. Thank you, everyone. And just to remind you that the opening of the exhibition in the main gallery is now in 4 minutes' time.